Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 13 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're playing a couple more games with the rank number 1 Giratina team that we featured in the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below. By the way, that episode had some really crazy games, so if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. But yeah, this is built and piloted by a Japanese player who was able to get rank number 1 with this team very recently, and Giratina O is just very uncommon in this format, so to be able to get to rank number 1 with the team that very heavily centers around Giratina, I think is very, very cool. So thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what Gen 4 Legendary you think had the best design down in the comment section below. Before we get started, I wanted to briefly just touch on what the title and thumbnail are referring to, which is Charm on Whimsicott. Whimsicott's been a really good Pokemon in VGC for many formats now, and I think what's interesting is that in this format, Charm has actually risen up to become the number 3 most common move on Whimsicott. Now, that is actually pretty crazy to me to see, because I feel like before Series 13, like I know towards the end of Series 12, Charm became fairly popular, but to see it at almost 50% usage is way higher than I personally ever expected. And so, you know, the reason why players are prioritizing Charm so much now, there are a couple, right? First of all, being able to bring a physical Pokemon down to -2 attack, or in the case of Zacian, -1, is so valuable, especially in a format like this where it's so fast-paced and you have so many ultra-powerful Pokemon. And in this format now, there are a lot more viable restricted Pokemon that weren't used previously, or just, you know, didn't really see too much play previously. For example, we're using Giratina, that's physical. There's things like Zekrom and Ho-Oh, for example, not to mention the common ones like Groudon and Zacian as well, right? So the idea is that there's so many physical Pokemon that like to Dynamax. If you're able to charm those Pokemon, it shuts them down significantly. And part of this format is if you're able to stall out your opponent's Dynamax without taking too much damage and hold your Dynamax for the end, you can snowball the game so quickly because of the amount of just sheer power you have with restricted Pokemon, right? But getting there can be difficult, and Charm is really valuable in getting there. The other thing about Charm is that it's really nice for endgame scenarios where your opponent is just stuck with their final 2 Pokemon, for example, and they can't switch out, and so you can just charm them continuously to decrease their attack and really not allow them to deal very much damage. So I personally didn't expect this move to rise up to almost 50% usage rate. Like, I thought Trick Room was way more common, but it's all the way down here at 18%, whereas Charm is up here at 50%. So yeah, I'm not sure we'll ever see a format where Charm is used as much as it is right now, but makes sense for a format like this. Okay, what do we got here? Dialga, Zacian, Whimsicott, Incineroar, Regieleki, and then Groudon. Dialga, Zacian was like an interesting duo throughout Series 12. Some very high-level players explored Dialga at the World Championships as well. It's always one of those Pokemon I really felt like could perform well, but in the end, just, yeah, maybe not consistent enough. But I think in Series 13, it's maybe even stronger, just because you don't have to give up like one of your 2 restricted slots for it. Beating Dialga here actually seems kind of scary, I would say. Celesteela could actually be used to kind of wall it. The alternative is, I don't know, like with this team, I think Whimsicott plus the 3 restricteds are just so strong that you generally have to make a really good case for Incineroar or Celesteela. And, you know, we've brought Celesteela before, and it's been really valuable, especially in like Calyrex Ice Rider teams. Here, it actually could be okay. I just struggle to see who I would drop between Kyogre, Zacian, and Giratina. Maybe Giratina, honestly. But, like, half the fun of using this team, I think, is the fact that it has Giratina. So, I'm not sure I want to drop it. Okay, honestly, I'm down for a Whimsicott Zacian lead, Kyogre, Giratina in the back. One reason I like Whimsicott Zacian so much with this team is because if you lead Kyogre, then you might lose the Weather War immediately, making it less flexible to Dynamax. Kyogre also doesn't have Protect, so pivoting out is a lot more awkward. And then with Giratina, like, because you're only using Ghost-type attacks, right? And Giratina is a Pokemon that can flex between Dynamax and non-Dynamaxing. Like, I like to keep it flexible later on in the game rather than early in the game. It's going to be Incineroar and Dialga for my opponent. Okay. This is actually a really favorable lead for them, all things considered, because you have Fake Out plus any attack on turn 1. The question is, where do you target right now? Like, you do get an Intimidate onto me, right? So maybe you don't really care that much about Zacian. Normally, Dialga is going to want to Dynamax in a position like this. You could just go for, I don't know, like Flash Cannon, though. It's Air Balloon Incineroar, so that's good to know. I think generally I don't mind turn 1 switch into Kyogre and Protect. Because part about, like, how you generally beat Dialga in, like, Sword and Shield VGC is trying to stall out its Dynamax or making its Dynamax, like, incredibly ineffective. So, for example, like, Snarl is a really good move into Dialga. Light Screen is really good, but because there's Fake Out Pressure on turn 1, I have to play a little, you know, a little bit around it. But essentially, like, one of the main problems for Dialga throughout Sword and Shield is that it's incredibly powerful in Dynamax, but you really have to get, like, super good value out of each turn. And even though Dialga has so many good coverage moves, it's harder to often, like, go for a move that covers for every single switch-in option, right? So, for example, here I'm switching to Kyogre. Whimsicott, it was on the field. You know, a lot of Dialgas would be incentivized to maybe go for Max Steel Spike on that slot. Well, Kyogre resists that, right? And the thing about Dialga is if you prevent it from just picking up too many knockouts early on, and with the team that we're using here, I think late game Dynamax is incredibly good for it. It can put us into a really good position, right? But maybe my opponent reads this, right? For example, Incineroar just going for a parting shot here and pivoting into something else would be really strong. So we'll see if they even bother clicking Fake Out. Like, maybe you don't because you're not worried about Incineroar fainting this turn. Yeah, it is just Fake Out into the Kyogre slot, though. Okay, good. That's what I want to see. And just Max Steel Spike. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so they doubled up onto the Whimsicott slot, but, like, I don't mind covering Zacian here, right? Because let's say I just attack with Zacian there. Okay, yeah, I get a Sacred Sword into either slot. I'm at neutral attack. I don't KO either Pokemon. What good does that Sacred Sword damage actually accomplish for me, right? The answer is just really not very much. And now, I can consider switching out Zacian. So, I don't mind going for a Scald onto the Incineroar slot and then pivoting Zacian out into Whimsicott, I think. Even if Dialga has Max Lightning with Assault Vest here, we should survive. And I definitely don't want to risk switching Zacian out into Giratina and getting crit by, like, a Max Steel Spike. It's tempting to switch into Giratina, though, because I think, like, a lot of Dialgas here will just click Max Quake onto that slot. And so if I bring in Giratina, it's immune to it. I waste another turn of Dynamax. Then Incineroar doesn't get a special defense boost. Scald should just get a one-hit knockout onto that. I wouldn't say I'd win the game off that immediately, but it would put me into such a favorable position. But the expectation here is that Dialga will outspeed the Kyogre. But no, okay, so because Kyogre here just doesn't really have any speed investment. And so we get a free knockout onto Incineroar. I didn't want to go for Water Spout in case Dialga was faster than us here and had Max Lightning. And there's Max Lightning. Yeah, I think, like, you know, so much about Pokemon is trying to just cover for options that you think are likely. And Max Lightning in particular is even stronger, I feel like, as an option in Series 13 because, you know, Kyogre is just everywhere. I guess it's not like Kyogre wasn't everywhere in Series 12. But, you know, I feel like teching Max Lightning onto things like Dialga and Palkia feel more effective now than it was previously. So they bring in Regieleki. Okay. Well, this is part of the problem. Regieleki will still outpace me, even after Tailwind, which is always so crazy to think about. So, like, they could simply Electro Web and Max Steel Spike here, but I think I'm willing to give up both Pokemon because then it's just 2 free switches into Giratina Zacian, and we have a very nice endgame with that. So, I'm willing to Scald into Regieleki. Maybe you're not max speed. I expect it to be max speed, though, and yeah, I think we should just set up Tailwind here so, like, Giratina and Zacian can outspeed in this endgame. And I think if the Regieleki is not max speed and doesn't outspeed Kyogre here, they're really done for, but that'd be really surprising. Yeah. A lot of physical Regielekis here today, though. That's very interesting. Very critically, though, the Regieleki reveals that it's Wild Charge and physical, right? So that means you take recoil damage, which also means... And it's Life Orb once again. So this is actually nice for 2 reasons, right? One, like, I have Focus Sash on Whimsicott, so you don't even KO that. However, it does mean that Tailwind was technically wasted this turn, since I didn't actually get any value out of it, but you gotta think about the long term, right? The play I was expecting from my opponent's end, which I think is often likely if you're not going up against physical Regieleki, and sometimes Regieleki maybe runs mixed sets as well. Hold on, let's figure out who we want to go into first here. I set up Tailwind now. Yeah, let's just go out into Dialga. The point I was trying to make there is that, like, if I don't set up Tailwind and I get greedy and I'm like, oh, Whimsicott will survive the turn and Whimsicott faints, suddenly I have this endgame with Zacian and Giratina against, you know, Regieleki, which can maybe still have Electro Web. You know, at this point I still haven't seen it. And then I just, like, am slower than them, right? And that's a pretty major issue for me. Tailwind is up, so I think here I'm content to just Sacred Sword into Regieleki and set up a Light Screen. Dialga post Dynamax, especially with Light Screen up, not nearly as scary. I think Regieleki here certainly can protect, but that's okay. We're not going to see it protect here. So this Whimsicott moveset is just so good. Okay. +1 Sacred Sword onto Regieleki. Goodbye. And I think the main thing here is that, yeah, like I said, right, in order to beat Dialga... Ooh, okay. Trick Room. Wait, that actually changes a lot. I should have covered for that maybe a little bit better, because I think now Groudon comes out. But I can just charm either Pokemon. Oh, it's actually Zacian. Oh, okay. That works. The awkward thing is that I set up this Tailwind earlier, so they're actually going to get good value out of Trick Room. Part of the reason why I wasn't really expecting Trick Room there was because the Dialga revealed Max Lightning earlier. Because then it means, like, you can't run Steel Spike, Wormwind, and Quake, right? And we saw Max Steel Spike as well. Curious what it dropped then. Maybe Max Quake. Here I'm content to just click Sacred Sword onto the Dialga slot. We already set up the light screen. I can charm Zacian. Like, this Whimsicott set makes this endgame so much easier. Because if I don't have a light screen and charm, then, like, now they have full speed control. And yes, I have my Dynamax, but I'm staring down 2 Pokemon that can hit Giratina for super effective. It's actually Flash Cannon as their special attack. Okay, nice. We take that decently well. Behemoth Blade. I presume they would double up onto the Zacian slot because, like, Whimsicott's not really doing very much for me right now. Yep. Crit here would be really bad, but no crit. Okay, nice. And we're going to get Sacred Sword off here. And that's almost a KO by itself. Nice. Oh, wow. It's weakness policy? Okay. This Dialga certainly has a lot of tricks. It's my last turn of Tailwind. So Giratina will start outpacing them after this turn. I'm down to just protect Zacian here. I just will just charm Zacian again, right? Because, like, I'll get Zacian a -3 attack. Giratina comes in. Shadow Sneak just should KO Dialga. I guess my fear is if it somehow misses the knockout. Oh, wait. They actually have a defense boost on that. I'm not sure it gets the KO. Huh. What? I wonder what their Dragon type attack is. Because if it's Roar of Time... Oh, they actually doubled up into Zacian. Okay. Actually, the double up makes a lot of sense there, because you would just KO the Whimsicott anyway. Yeah, you're at +2 defense. Hold on. Oh, but you know what? It's fine, because I can just, yeah, protect Giratina and then max Phantasm, because, like, their Zacian's at -3 attack already, and I'll get it to -5 now at this point. So, Flash Cannon should KO me, but I'm not going to switch into Giratina. I actually think... Oh, how many turns of Trick Room left? 2? I'm fine going for a double protect here because I don't really think there's anything better to go for, and I'm down to just charm Zacian again. Although I actually could have, based off how last turn played out, I could have just protected and then just like Moonblasted Dialga, KO that, and then it's a 3v1. But I think like the only way I lose this right now is to a crit from Zacian. But I would not discount that as a possibility. But essentially now I am going to bring out Giratina. Giratina's going to protect. Then Dynamax, Phantasm, and then just Phantasm. So maybe I need to avoid, like, 2 crits from Zacian. So the odds are very heavily in my favor, but it's still not 100% one. Even with 1 critical hit, Giratina should survive. And they're at -5 attack at this point, so Charm was such a good tech here. Without Charm here, I actually most likely would have lost this game, I think, because of their very nice late-game Trick Room. I should have expected Trick Room better, honestly. No reason to max guard here. I think it's fine to just protect. Yeah. So earlier, I was commenting how I expected Dialga to be faster than Kyogre, but this is clearly a really bulky weakness policy set. Yeah, there's Roar of Time. Okay. And play rough. Cool. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now we know Dialga's full moveset. We've seen Roar of Time, Electric type attack, Steel. So it doesn't have a ground type attack. But now we can just Dynamax and Phantasm. I guess what would be funny here, or maybe not so funny for me, is if the Dialga ended up being faster than Giratina. I don't think that could be the case. But I guess it's... Because the Giratina here, I believe, was slower than the Kyogre. I don't remember the EV spread fully off the top of my head. But yeah, now we're just looking to avoid 2 crits, I think. Maybe 3, because I'm not sure actually Phantasm KOs Zacian. Yeah, so there's play rough. Yeah, that did minuscule damage. And we're faster. Good. Cool. Late game Groudon would have been pretty interesting, but I guess with late game Groudon, it's actually not as scary. Like, if it's late game Groudon, they really can't beat Giratina. And so, yeah, this is what I mean, right? I think what this team does really well, if you stall out your opponent's Dynamax, is just, like, snowball the game very quickly at the end game. But we haven't won this yet, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. -1 defense, -5 attack. They're looking for a crit. I think it's only, yeah, one more chance to crit here. Because I can essentially just... Actually, even Behemoth Blade crit here, I'm, like, pretty sure it doesn't KO us. But they're not going to get a crit here. I could be wrong on that, though. I just, like, expect Giratina to survive because it's so bulky and has so much HP. And, yeah, Phantasm actually just does enough there. Beautiful. And this is the, like, nice thing about Max Phantasm, right? The defense drops just chain really quickly. So being able to get a one-hit knockout onto Zacian is super, super satisfying. So, yeah. Ultimately, though, I think what allowed me to win that game was having, yeah, good control of Dynamax. Yeah, let's check their team here. Mentor, Whimsicott, with Charm, Max HP, Max Defense. Soft Sand Groudon, which is pretty interesting. 112 speed. Life Orb, Regieleki. Yeah, there you go. Wild Charge, Electro Web, Protect Eerie Impulse. Air Balloon, Incineroar, as we saw. Zacian. Max Speed, actually. And then Weakness Policy, Dialga. This Dialga was really cool. Because it had Trick Room. It had Thunder. And then it didn't have a ground type attack. But I like, respected the ground type attack a lot from it, right? And didn't want to, like, fall into that. So, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, for this one we've got Whimsicott, Kyogre, Zacian, Groudon, Yveltal, Charizard. Nothing too out of the ordinary here in terms of Pokemon selection. What do I want to bring? Like, Yveltal's always super scary. If I go Whimsicott plus Zacian, that's okay, I think. Yeah, Whimsicott I don't know. I feel like Whimsicott Zacian is just so consistent for this team. Like, once again, if I lead Kyogre, then they could win the Weather War. Don't want that to happen. Also, they have their own Tailwind, so, like, if I lead Whimsicott Kyogre, they very easily can just outpace me. And then Giratina is weak to both Zacian and Yveltal here, so that's why I've been defaulting towards Whimsicott Zacian with Kyogre Giratina in the back so much. It's just like the power level of these restricteds are so much stronger than Incineroar and Celesteela, so you just have to make a really good argument to want to bring either. I'm not confident enough in either here. Celesteela, not very good into Yveltal, Charizard, or Kyogre. It is quite good into Zacian and Groudon, but being so weak into the three others doesn't instill a lot of confidence. And Incineroar would be here for Intimidate onto Groudon and Zacian, but really weak into everything else. And, like, that last game kind of demonstrated it, right? Like, my opponent had Incineroar out. Yeah, I gave them a fake out on turn 1, but then I positioned Kyogre in against them. And if, like, Incineroar without Protect, like, that's actually where making an argument for Protect on Incineroar is really interesting, right? Because if they had Protect, then you could stall the turn on my end, get Max Lightning onto Kyogre, and, you know, stall things out a little bit. They do go with Whimsicott Charizard, which is what I was slightly worried about seeing. Okay. They don't have Wild Charge. But I guess what's interesting here is, are you going to commit the Dynamax to Charizard? I mean, Maxard is fairly powerful here, no? If it's this lead, I would expect, what, Whimsicott, Charizard, Groudon, Zacian, which means Kyogre would win Ultra Hard. I think I just Tailwind here. But you know what? They could Trick Room here, no? Protect Trick Room. Ooh, that actually makes this really tricky. I went for Light Screen Behemoth Blade as kind of a middle ground option. They're going to max. So that makes me think they're Tailwinding. The reason I went for Light Screen is because it sets up, one, like, I'm not actually sure Charizard KO Zacian without the sun being up here, right? With Light Screen being up, because we have, like, max HP Zacian. But yeah, basically what I was really worried about is if I Tailwind and they protect Charizard Trick Room turn 1, I am done for. That would be, like, so bad for me. They actually just go for Charm. Okay. Could be worse, because the thing is, giving up Zacian but getting a free switch into Kyogre I actually think is not bad at the end of the day. I'm not even sure I lose Zacian here. But it's like very likely they just KO Whimsicott with Gmax Wildfire now, and I am playing with Fire. The point I wanted to make though is then I lose speed control, and my opponent gains a pretty significant advantage there. There's Wildfire, probably on a Whimsicott. Yeah, there's no way I'm surviving that, right? Yeah, even with Focus Sash, or sorry, even with Light Screen and the bulk, still brings us down to Sash, which isn't really that surprising, but painful. Yeah, it is Life Orb Zard. I mean, this is why Whimsicott is that good, right? We're seeing just the impact it can have in back-to-back games. I actually think Whimsicott Charizard is just really strong. Like, Charm Whimsicott plus Charizard is really good into everything on our team. Because, like, Celesteal and Incineroar contribute very little here, other than if I knew that Whimsicott didn't have Protect, okay, Incineroar is interesting for turn 1 Fake Out. Because then I could lead, like, something like Incineroar Kyogre. Celesteal doesn't do anything against this. The problem now is if I bring out Giratina, it's also just Charm Bait, so I can just bring out Kyogre. Yeah, this is awkward. This is very awkward, I would say. I think I'm going to go Kyogre here, though. Charm is a really big issue. But the thing is, now Rain is up, so I definitely expect to survive any attack from the Charizard, right? So if you like Wildfire into Zacian, okay, I can survive that. They could switch Whimsicott out into Groudon and then, like, Airstream into Kyogre, but I have Light Screen and Assault Vest. Honestly, the play I want to go for is just Water Spout and Behemoth Blade here. It doesn't feel like the most consistent option, though, because, like, I think Dynamaxing Kyogre might be more consistent, but, like, I'm a little bit hesitant to do so because I think I want to hold my Dynamax for Giratina, but actually, I don't even think Max Giratina is that good against what they have in the back. I think the better option is actually just Hailstorm here into Whimsicott and pivot out into Giratina. Yeah. I don't know. It was tempting to go for, like, the double knockout in front of us right now, but I don't think that actually gets me anywhere. Well, I wouldn't say it doesn't get me anywhere, but, like, there's a lot I could lose potentially from that. I would be very happy to just see something like Tailwind Max Guard here. Because, yeah, the idea is if I just went Water Spout plus Behemoth Blade, maybe I pick up a double KO, but my problem is if Charizard gets, like, a big attack off into Kyogre before Dynamax, like, I don't think Giratina's as strong of a max option in this matchup. I also should have considered just Geysering into Charizard here, I think. But they do Max Guard. Okay, cool. Very nice. There's Tailwind. Yep. Okay, awesome. That turn works out quite well for us. The problem now is that my opponent does get a free switch in, but this is why, like, I really valued setting up Light Screen earlier on in this game. And part of the reason for that, by the way, is because, yeah, I can Tailwind with my Whimsicott, but so can my opponent, right? And I'm using slow Kyogre and Giratina here. I mean, both of those Pokemon, even when they have max speed investment, are slower than Charizard. So essentially, I'm conceding like they're going to be faster than me. And I'm okay with that because I have a lot of bulk to work with, right? The one thing is if I click Tailwind, it does force them to also set up Tailwind. But I think the risk of Trick Room was entirely too high. And I think Series 13... one really critical aspect of it is, yeah, the Tailwind versus Trick Room war. Because so much about it is just using these mega powerful Pokemon under speed control. And if I end up Tailwinding while they Trick Room, they just outpace me consistently for a couple of turns. And I think it's really difficult to come back from that when Charizard is also, you know, stealing some, not stealing, but, you know, just taking away HP each turn with G-Max Wildfire. So... they've set up Tailwind now, but I've got Light Screen up. Charizard's not that scary. They actually bring out Zacian. Okay, that works for me. Zacian. I mean, the thing is, Charizard just protected, so I could get a knockout onto that, but I really want to KO Zacian here, honestly, because, like, Light Screen is up. And I can kind of just nuke it with, like, a Geyser and a Shadow Sneak right now. Yeah, I'm down for that. Maybe they protect here, though. Okay, they don't protect. So this should KO between Shadow Sneak and Geyser. Oh, they have Wild Charge, though. Okay, that changes a lot. I should survive any attack from Charizard here on either end, though, but... yeah, that does nothing. I think we might still be okay, but Wild Charge drastically changes this. Because, like... what I could have done was just actually Geyser Charizard and Poltergeist Zacian. Or Shadow Force into Zacian, but instead Charizard doesn't end up taking any damage. The upside for me is that now, like, your Dynamax is over, and I still have a turn of Dynamax, and Light Screen is up, but they get a free switch in, and so, like, something like Groudon could very easily come in right now, right? This Wildfire damage is also, like, Wildfire is so valuable into something like Giratina, right? Where it's like I have so much HP. So let's see what their last one is. Could be Yveltal as well. It's Groudon. Okay. So this is going to be a very close finish. Still, what, 2 turns of Tailwind? Yep. I think here I'm okay clicking Geyser on a Groudon, and then... I was going to say Poltergeist or Shadow Force Charizard. I think I'm okay with that, because it stalls out the last turn of Tailwind while guaranteeing KO onto that slot. Oh, okay. I'm totally okay with that. They have Thunder Punch on Groudon as well. Very much anti-Kyogre, but that makes sense when you're running a Sun team. That's okay though, right? Because now Giratina disappears. It's your last turn of Tailwind, so Shadow Force is guaranteed to knock out on a Charizard. Solar Power, yep. Also, given that Groudon has Thunder Punch, I'm willing to bet that it's an Assault Vest set, which is okay with me. AB Groudon can't simultaneously knock out... Well, actually, no Groudon can simultaneously knock out Giratina and Zacian, right? But the whole idea here is, yeah, like Shadow Force guarantees me to knockout on a Charizard, so I turn this battle into a 2v1. And if I targeted Groudon, the end game becomes more complicated. So it's the last turn of Tailwind, you're at +1 speed, you're neutral. My Zacian can simply protect here. I think even a Charizard at attack there, I don't think it would KO Giratina, but I don't know, Life Orb, Hurricane, and Sun can confuse me. That was a little bit scary, but now we should be in better shape. My question is how I want to play this endgame with Giratina against Groudon, because I haven't necessarily confirmed how fast the Groudon is, and I won't be able to tell until after this turn. But the thing is, Groudon is actually generally going to struggle to get a one-hit knockout on a Giratina unless it has Shadow Claw, maybe. Okay, they go for Ancient Power. And Press with Blades, cool. That also confirms you're not Choice Groudon, but not really that surprising. I don't know, maybe you could run Choice Band Groudon here. Shadow Force on his Zard, goodbye. Now it's a 2v1. Okay, Light Screen wears off, Tailwind wears off. Cool. Zacian is guaranteed a Behemoth Blade here before fainting. I think Behemoth Blade Shadow Force here is fine. Because the thing is, Poltergeist can miss. And that's the one way you could lose this endgame, I think. Because, like, 2 Behemoth Blades probably finishes off Groudon. Like, my only fear is Groudon's, like, I don't know, max HP, max defense, so much where you can take 2 Behemoth Blades, but that would be crazy. And if you have that much bulk, that means you're not doing enough damage to get a knockout onto us. Yeah, beautiful. Like, the idea here is even if Groudon were faster, which it is, if I had gone for Poltergeist here and I missed, then Groudon could maybe, like, have Shadow Claw and crit me, but thanks to Shadow Force here, we're just guaranteed the KO, right? And even if it doesn't KO, Shadow Sneak will finish it off. So, you just always want to be careful about endgames and not give your opponent a chance to win after, like, thanks to something like a miss, for example. So, Giratina disappears, and now it's going to finish things off. So, yeah, I mean, like, this team just utilizes Giratina so well, right? That first game we won with the Giratina endgame by Dynamaxing it. Here, I was really careful about maxing it. Yeah, they go for Rock Slide. Shadow Force guarantees us the KO. Beautiful. I love that animation as well. Okay, amazing. But yeah, the point is, like, in endgame scenarios, especially when you've built up such a big lead and you're super close to winning, you just want to think about how things can potentially go wrong for you. And in this game, it was like, yeah, if I get greedy and click Poltergeist for some reason, like, there's really no reason to click Poltergeist there. Because the idea is, okay, even if Groudon has a way to KO Giratina, and like Shadow Claw, for example, Zacian just gets 2 Behemoth Blades off there. So, yeah. What I was worried about, like, you could also fall into the trap of maybe, like, being like, oh, you know, I don't want to feint to an attack from Groudon, so let me click Shadow Sneak, but then, like, Shadow Sneak, Behemoth Blade, and I'm not sure another Shadow Sneak KOs, and then Groudon could, like, flinch us with Rock Slide or crit us with Shadow Claw. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't think I needed to explain that endgame that much, but we'll look for one final game here. Okay, last match of the day here. 6 restricteds with Lunala. I almost said Necrozma, but that's Zekrom. Zamazenta, Groudon, Ho-Oh, and Calyrex. Huh. Okay. I mean, I think in theory, Giratina should be really solid here, but it has to worry about Will-O-Wisp from Calyrex, in my opinion. Wide Guard is concerning. Sorry, Celesteela. I don't think this one's for you either. Like, there's a Ho-Oh, and that in itself is already a big concern. I'm not sure they even bring it, though, I guess. Incineroar is, like, valuable for Intimidate, but I don't think one Intimidate moves the needle that much. What's the lead I should be most aware of? Maybe something like Zamazenta Groudon, but I have Charm, so that would be good. I think I'm down for Whimsicott Giratina in this one, because Giratina isn't threatened by as much. The main things to watch out for here are the bottom 3 Pokemon, right? Zekrom, Lunala, Calyrex. Against Calyrex, we can make an interesting play of Protect Moonblast turn 1, then Shadow Sneak turn 2. Against Zekrom, I can Charm it. Against the Lunala, Moonblast plus Poltergeist. That is going to be Ho-Oh and Lunala. Okay, very interesting. I wonder if Max Phantasm guarantees us a KO onto Lunala. I don't know my like Lunala Shadow Shield calc super well, because like I've never used Giratina into Lunala specifically. But they don't have any Ghost Switch-ins. I'm also down to maybe just Moonblast to break Shadow Shield and then like Max Phantasm it. I don't know how fast Lunala is here, but I want to assume it's like modest max speed. I don't know, I kind of expect Phantasm to KO here. So like turn 1 I'm kind of down to just Tailwind, Dynamax, base 140 Phantasm. And if not, then credits to Lunala. Okay, that should be Ho-Oh maxing. I think Ho-Oh maxing is a really good sign because it means I can Charm with the Whimsicott in subsequent turns, and it also means I don't have to risk a Sacred Fire burn here. So honestly, I'm very happy to see Ho-Oh maxing here. I think that's one of the least threatening Dynamaxes we can go up against because it is not that strong into Giratina. I say that now, but maybe it has some surprise attack, like catches me off guard. Okay. We shall max our Giratina. It would also just make me so happy. Like, it would be so satisfying to see a Lunala get one shot. Because there are very, very few Pokemon that are capable of doing that consistently. Okay, no Protect, no Switch. Nice, nice, nice. So that's good. Whimsicott gets the Tailwind up. Now we outspeed. Base 140. Max Phantasm. Boosted as well. Yes, very nice. And it gets a defense drop on a Ho-Oh. This is a huge lead for us, obviously, regardless of what Ooh, okay, it's just White Herb. That's fine. I don't really care about that. That's actually really nice to see, because now it means I can Charm with more confidence, right? Okay, amazing. Honestly, that was probably just the ideal turn 1. Like, my opponent I wouldn't say wasted a max turn, but, like, they used the max turn up just to Airstream into Whimsicott, right? I think if... Okay, Calyrex does come out. I mean, Calyrex is scary, right? Like, this thing is likely going to have Focus Sash. I genuinely like don't remember how much speed max speed Ho-Oh hits. 240. Because essentially I'm afraid of it airstreaming. I could Charm here. I could Light Screen. Yeah. Ho-Oh's just used so infrequently, and I don't use Giratina much, and we're using slightly weird speed tiers here. Okay, I just went for Moonblast Phantasm on a Giratina. Or sorry, onto Calyrex. Okay, cool, this works. Yeah, they didn't protect. I don't know, I was worried about either like Scarf Calyrex or Calyrex protecting there and then Ho-Oh airstreaming before we move, but it turns out we are faster anyway, so we're good. I was just worried, I was like, if you're a max speed Ho-Oh, because like we don't have that much speed investment really on either Pokemon, that could be really bad, but Giratina is just snowballing this so quickly right now. Yeah, they go for another Airstream, that's fine. I don't know, I really wanted a Charm there, but I think as soon as Calyrex hits the field, I actually really have to respect that, because that Pokemon can snowball fairly quickly. And like, I don't want to Charm into a Max Guard, for example, right? And now Giratina's at -1 defense. I think I'm gonna just go into Zacian first here, and then pivot out into Kyogre, because they could have Groudon coming in right now. One thing to note, though, is that the Ho-Oh is now faster than my Giratina, so I have to keep that in mind. Yep, Groudon's the last one. Okay, cool. So Kyogre is now set up for a very nice end game as well, right? In this position, Zacian will still outspeed the Ho-Oh right now, because I have Tailwind up. 2 turns. I'm honestly down to just Behemoth Blade into the Ho-Oh slot, and I think splitting my damage here feels okay. Because, like, it's so much damage on a Ho-Oh, and then I get another defense drop from Phantasm putting you in Shadow Sneak KO range. Kyogre should just... I mean, Kyogre at this point should just beat both of these Pokemon post-Dynamax. So I don't want to, like, give my opponent the opportunity to come back into the game by, like, doubling up onto one slot, having that slot protect, and then the other Pokemon somehow gets a knockout. Oh my gosh, that just feels wrong. And they actually go for a third Airstream. Okay. I think that makes sense. The idea here is, hey, like, you're running out of turns of Tailwind, so if I want to win this game, I need to outpace the potential Kyogre that you have in the back. If I'd actually just doubled up onto either slot here, I think it would have been game over. But this is still fine, because now I get a Phantasm off into Groudon. Like, that in itself is a ton of damage. Defense drop on them both. Kyogre gets to come in. Actually, I'm not even sure they KO either Pokemon here. Let's see. Precipice Blades. Yep. So, Giratina's immune. Zacian's max HP here, so I expect to survive. Wonderful. And now we can just Shadow Sneak and Behemoth Blade. This is just such a good Giratina team. Like, I don't think I've ever... And this, like, Giratina just has never really been able to thrive too much in VGC, sadly, in general, but... having a format where you can use unlimited restricted, it's like, this is the perfect space for it, right? Because it's like, yeah, let's pair it with the strongest restricted duo, Zacian and Kyogre, or one of the strongest restricted duos in Sword and Shield. And it's like, if you were to use Giratina in a 2 restricted format, it's like you're giving up a big slot for Giratina, right? Like, you're giving up something like a Zacian, a Kyogre, a Groudon, a Calyrex. You have to have a really good argument for that. But even just having a 3rd slot here makes it so much more usable. Yeah, it's really interesting because, like, all the restricted formats we've played before Series 12 have always been just, like, dual restricted formats. And this one allowed any number plus mythical Pokemon. I feel like there's some really interesting things you can do that allow for... I don't know, to even be... I wonder, like, how metagames would play out if you, like... Because the power creep was unbelievable in Sword and Shield, right? Like, Zacian, Calyrex, Regieleki, you know, like... Those 3 alone were just... It's funny bunching Regieleki into that because it's not a restricted Pokemon. But, you know, they're just so fast and so powerful. And then the mythical Pokemon from previous generations are just sad at the end of the day. But yeah. Anyway, though, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you for watching. As always, hopefully continue to demonstrate how this rank number 1 team with Giratina is so powerful. So we've got about 11 days left of the format from the day this video is being posted. And so, yeah, you know, I've got a couple of days left if you want to try out Giratina. This is probably just the best Giratina team I've ever used, right? It's like generally standard sets in Pokemon, but then you have like this really nice Whimsicott that is so instrumental to winning games with that charm, and then Giratina really being able to sweep through everything. So I'm just really happy to feature how good this Pokemon can potentially be, because I feel like its potential hasn't really been unlocked too much, and in this format, like this, you know, there's a reason this was able to get to number 1 on the ladder. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it. So thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. All right. Peace.